So here's a rundown on some of our Alaska news for Friday. You may have already known this, but the legislature's in special session again. This has become a kind of a regular deal. Every year they first fail to meet the 90 days deadline that was put in place by the voters, and then they come up against the constitutional deadline of 121 days, only to not get their work done. And sometimes they vote to give themselves extra time. Sometimes they just go straight into special session. In this case, they voted to adjourn, and within the hour, Governor Walker called them into special session starting the very next day. So on Thursday, they started a special session. So it's going to run probably at least 30 days, and who knows if they're going to get the work done or not before they have to have another special session. But just in case you're wondering, KTUU has a little clock that ticks through and shows how much money it's costing for overtime. And just in going, obviously we're talking about the going past the 90-day session, it's already over $1 million that the legislature has cost us in overtime. Meanwhile, a couple of things that did get done this week is the lawmakers scrapped the stringent manicurist licensing requirements. Remember these new requirements that were crafted by people in order to keep people safe? Wanted to make the manicurists go through 120 hours of training. And these are people, by the way, most of whom English is a second language to. I mean, can you imagine going to France and getting a job and then having to complete training for hundreds of hours and then having to take a written test in French? How would you do? Well, they dropped that requirement. They also approved Uber and Lyft. They're going to allow ride-sharing companies to come to the state of Alaska. However, they're also going to allow local municipalities the veto ability, saying, no, you're not allowed here. So there you have it. If you live in Anchorage, you'll see if the taxi cab operators, the unions, and the city will allow you to get a ride from Uber or not. The state says you can. Looks like the 91-year-old man who shot his 92-year-old wife in Anchorage was released to his granddaughter's custody. She says he has dementia. He said he doesn't know why he shot his wife. It's one of those really sad stories. Also, a Fairbanks man was arrested for an accidental shooting. He says it was accidental. He went to the man's house with a shotgun and waited for him to get home. When the guy came through the door, he said the gun accidentally went off. He was just planning on confronting the man. Also, you don't know if you remember the legally blind sled dog racer who competed in the Iditarod. I think she also ran in the Yukon Quest prior to that. She's 32 years old now, and she's running for Congress. Different kind of race. Last story, remember we have many more stories than we actually have time for in this video. Last story, it wasn't just the Bogoslav volcano that erupted on Tuesday. It was also Cleveland volcano. Actually, Cleveland went off a little bit before Bogoslav, but Bogoslav was bigger and sent a bigger gas cloud and actually interfered with flight. Cleveland did not. So we've got active volcanoes, we've got blind mushers running for Congress, and we've got overtime in the legislature costing us millions of dollars. Happy Friday. Check out my commentary today. It has to do with this Princess Mako of Japan giving up her royal lineage to marry a commoner. I've got a few things to say about that. Check it out at radiofreespeech.com.